Alright, so for your problems here, I want to give you just a few hints just to kind of like start you off and help out. I'm not going to obviously solve the problems for you, but just some pointers. Alright, so remember, when somebody gives you sine negative x equals 2/3, that information, you have a formula right here. So sine negative x is replaceable with negative sine x. So that's your first thing, is to go and replace that. This information tells you that sine negative x is equal to negative sine x, and that equal to 2/3. So you should be able to figure out that sine x, based on that information, is, bring the negative over here. So you know that the sine is negative, and you know that the tangent is negative. So decide which quadrant you're in. Right? And after that, once you know the sine, you should be able to figure out the cosecant. Once you know the sine, you should be able to use your Pythagorean identities, sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1, to figure out the cosine. And then once you know the sine and the cosine, you can figure out the tangent. Okay. All right. So number two, you have a couple options. Obviously, the left side is kind of the ugly side, so we want to work on that. Don't touch the right side. You could get a common denominator. Like, for instance, your common denominator might be cosecant and tangent. Because I thought to myself, well, tangent times tangent makes tangent squared here, and cosecant times sine, to make my common denominator, makes 1. So I get tangent squared plus 1, which is an identity. And then I can go from there and change it. You could also change everything to sines and cosines and see what that does for you. Tangent is sine over cosine. Cosecant is 1 over sine. There you have a sine here. This is sine over cosine. You could flip up the bottoms and see what happens. But this route might be a little bit easier path for you. And once you get the top figured out, then I might change everything to sines and cosines and see what cancels. And remember, you want it to, at the end, you want to prove that it equals secant. And say, yes, you are happy. All right, this next identity here, remember, this is an identity. This is not an equation to solve. Obviously, the left side is kind of the ugly side. But look right there. Oh, I've got a tangent I could factor out. So factor out a tangent. See what's left. See if there's an identity that you could change it to, and then cancel it, go from there. All right, over on number 4. We're going to work on the right side. You could debate whether the left or the right is the ugly side, but on the right side, I definitely see something I could do. I see this down here. So I want to multiply by the conjugate, because doing that on the bottom creates a difference of squares. It creates 1 minus cosine squared. So that way on the bottom, when you have your 1 minus cosine squared down there, you can change that using Pythagorean identity. The top, I would not multiply out right away. Don't multiply it out because we don't really need to. And then when you get the bottom, and then you notice a Pythagorean identity, you can maybe change it and then do some canceling and then go about your way. Okay? All right. Number 5. Number 5 and 6 and 7, these are equations to solve now. So we're finding solutions. And down here we're finding solutions. So this is going to involve you looking at your unit circle when you're done. So number 5 is a simpler one. You're just going to get your sign on this side. So 5 sines minus 1 more is 4. Put the 2 on the other side, becomes negative. So get this down to sine x equals some kind of number here. And then all you're going to do is go to your unit circle and look for where that happens. Probably 2 angles. All right, over here. So remember, you don't want to cancel these. You want to bring stuff over and factor. So you got 4 cotangent minus cotangent and sine squared. All right, so do some factoring. You have a cotangent in common. So see what's left. And then after you factor it, then you set each part equal to 0, right? Set each part equal to 0 and solve those. And remember, if sine or cosine can't be bigger than 1 or less than -1, so it has to stay between -1 and 1. So there might be no solution from something if those are bigger than 1 or smaller than -1. All right, down here on number 7. This is tangent squared here. So I think might be a good idea to move the 2 on the other side, divide the 6 over there, so you get tangent squared equals some kind of number over here. Then you can come through and do the square root of both sides. Don't forget that when you do the square root of both sides, you have to put plus or minus on whatever you get over here. So yeah, don't forget about that. And then you give your solutions. So in this one, you're going to have more than two solutions because you got plus or minus. So you have to look all around the unit circle for all the places that it happens. All right, and I will see you in class. Bye-bye.